Soy Analia Inés Meo y junto a Jason Beech editamos este número especial dedicado a explorar las herramientas teóricas de Stephen Ball para el estudio de las políticas educativas en América Latina. Este número es una invitación a seguir apropiándose de manera reflexiva y situada de la perspectiva de Ball para estudiar las políticas educativas en nuestra región. También es un homenaje a un colega que nos inspira a interrogar críticamente las políticas educativas y sus efectos, con el objetivo de desentrañar las maneras en que las desigualdades entre distintos grupos sociales son reactualizadas, reproducidas y también desafiadas en la actualidad. Este número incluye un ensayo introductorio a su perspectiva teórica y también 5 artículos. Estos trabajos son recontextualizaciones y en algunos casos también reelaboraciones de conceptos forjados por Ball. Estos artículos examinan distintas políticas educativas en Argentina, Brasil, Chile y Colombia. Este número especial también incluye una entrevista a Stephen Ball realizada especialmente para esta ocasión y que hemos publicado en castellano, inglés y portugués. A continuación les presentamos una parte de esta entrevista, un video, en donde Stephen Ball nos habla acerca del contexto de investigación cuando hacemos investigación en políticas educativas.
It's a very simple thing, really. If you read most policy analysis, particularly in some ways at school level or institutional level, you get lots of quotations of people saying things, and sometimes descriptions of people doing things, but you very rarely get any sense of where this place is, what it looks like. It's presumably a building or a set of buildings, but you very rarely get any sense of what the buildings look like, what condition they're in, what facilities they have, how they're structured, what colour they're painted. Does it have a playground for the students to play in? Are there science laboratories? We dematerialise policy analysis. We rip it out of context in that sense. We give no sense of its materiality. And also, almost never, researchers actually tell you about money, for example. What's the budget? How much money is available? What salaries do the teachers get? How much is spent on the building? How much money is available for buying textbooks or tables and chairs or computers? Again, there's a sort of dematerialization. We talk about teachers, we talk about classrooms, we talk about teaching and learning, but we very rarely give any sense of how much these things cost and how much money is available. And of course policymakers in many ways don't do that either. They assume that policy is immune from context, so that a school with very poor facilities, very inexperienced teachers and students who come from socially deprived backgrounds can do policy in exactly the same way as a very well-funded school with very experienced teachers and students who come from very well-off backgrounds. They dematerialise policy as well. Policymakers have in their head the sort of the best of all possible schools when they actually write policy, and then this gets translated into the way in which they think about how policy is done, whether it's done well or done badly. That it doesn't have a context. So in many senses it's very simple, which is to rematerialise policy, to give it a literal and visceral foundation in terms of facilities and people and money. How many teachers are there? How experienced are they? What's their training? What's their background? How many years have they worked in teaching? We don't know about these things. A maths teacher said this in some kind of classroom, which we don't know what it looks like, with a tablet working with the students. Where did that come from? Who paid for it? It's wanting to ask those sorts of questions and bring those into play in terms of policy research. And that also at a different level relates back to the things I was saying about global education policy, because in many ways one of the most, if not the most important thing in terms of these global policy networks and what moves through them is money. And as educational researchers, policy researchers, we have to be more financially literate.
Mm-hmm.